Baseball This Week, a Spotlight production. And here's your host, Jim Stark.
Well, good evening. Welcome to Baseball This Week here on a Wednesday. We're a bit delayed today because Jack Ebeling was a little bit more loquacious than normal. Is that fair to say, co-host Rob Bennett?
Loquacious? Wow, hit me with loquacious this early in the show.
Word.
Jack's been called many a thing,
Loud.
as you know. Many a thing, but loquacious, sure, we'll go with that on this
well, welcome,
Wednesday
Rob
show.
Bennett.
Welcome to you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great to be talking baseball here on a Wednesday as we try to each and every week. The Tigers are trying to get even on this or to go ahead of the series tonight as they
big win last night.
They're going to start just a little while, I think, right? They start at 6:40 tonight in Comerica?
Around 6:40 first pitch,
And the Tigers, of course, even the series yesterday against Minnesota with a big shutout victory by Eduardo Rodriguez. And now the Tigers, as we always do in our first thing, take a look back at the week that was. We looked at the next 6 games when we met last week, Rob, and I said, or 5 games because of the days off. I said 3-2. You said 2-3. Right now, they're 2-3.
Yeah.
But if they win tonight, I got them back to 500 for the week.
You got them back to 500.
But if you look back at who they played, they beat Pittsburgh that last game we were on the air for last Wednesday. They went 1-2 against Tampa, and they're 1-1 against Minnesota. The two of the best teams in the division.
Yeah, it makes sense.
2-3 against those two teams.
You'll take that.
It's not horrible.
I mean, a lot of teams would take that, right?
Well, if the Tigers win and they're 500. They are a 500 team right now at best. Let's face it. If they were playing 500, we'd be thrilled.
Yeah.
So
I believe 500 isn't what people expected this year. I think a lot of people thought they would be below 500.
Oh, I know I did.
Yeah, a lot of
yeah.
I
think if they could play, and they basically played 5. If you throw out that 9-game losing streak that they had in
they
May.
countered with that with a great June, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
but
they countered that.
If you throw that out, okay, they played 500 ball pretty much all year.
Sure,
and that's and again that's
a step forward.
That's a step forward.
Yes,
it's not there yet.
No,
yesterday,
far from a finished product for sure. I mean, let's be honest about it. But with the parts that you're given at this moment, I would say that's a win.
Yesterday when I was on with Jack, and you, of course, were on as well, and he asked me about 2 things. He said, what did I think about why the Tigers had not done as well this year as we thought earlier in the season when they started off kind of hot? And the second thing was what I thought of the non-trade of Rodriguez with and how it affects Scott Harrison. I said, the reason they haven't done as well is multi-level. It's been failure to improve on a lot of players' part. Certainly, injuries have been a key. When you talk about Meadows being out all year, the pitchers being out, losing a couple pitchers to surgery. So injuries have played a big part. But the big thing was just players that appeared to be improving didn't. And players that were improving didn't improve fast enough.
Well, that's just it. I mean, you look at Spencer Torkelson now, and a lot of people are saying what took so long, right?
Right.
Kerry Carpenter had to prove himself, but he's proven to be a major cog in the offense now, right?
Right.
And so it took a little longer for some of these guys. Riley Green being hurt and trying to get back himself.
It was a killer.
Yeah, it was a killer. So, again, and the word that we've used all year, and we will continue to do so, is inconsistency. Especially on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, I'm really getting sick and tired of saying it, but it's true.
As we've seen in watching the Detroit Pistons, Rob, the young team is nothing if not inconsistent. Even a good young team will play
isn't the
like a world beater one day, and the next day they're out to lunch.
Well, they play up to their competition, and they play down to their competition, right?
Right, that's right.
Isn't it kind of the same scenario with the Pistons, with all those injuries they had last year, including their number 1 alpha male, Cade Cunningham, being out.
Right.
And this is kind of what's happened with the Detroit Tigers, right? I mean, I think they're still trying to find that alpha male. Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, they could be.
Yep.
But we don't know that.
Maybe Tarek Skubal, maybe.
We don't know that yet, but we'll wait and see. But it's eerie how similar the parallels of the Pistons and the Tigers, right? have really kind of mirrored each other for seasons. That a lot of people thought, hey, especially for the Pistons, maybe not as much as the Tigers, but hey, maybe this will be for this young team. Maybe this will be the step up.
Well, and we keep waiting to see somebody really be that leader, like you said, that
alpha male.
Alpha male,
right?
But again, we've seen some signs, and then of course my response about Scott Harris was, I'm not entirely disappointed he didn't make the trade. I'm gonna say he didn't make the trade because of what he said. He was only making a trade if he got value. He didn't get value. He didn't make the trade. To me, that sets a tone with the rest of the league, the other GMs, the other top executives. If he did that, then that was worthwhile. But the only way we're going to know if he did that is watch to see what happens in the next weeks and months to come.
Well, right. Couple of real quick things here, and then we'll take a quick break because we got a special guest coming up here.
No, we do not have a special guest.
It's a special
guest. We have a guest that you forced me to have on today.
I would never
force me to have on.
But two quick things for the young prospect that they got back for the Lorenzen.
Yes,
right?
yes.
I mean, for Lorenzen being a rental, and this kid prospect being a top 10 prospect in the Philly system, wherever you look as far as a prospect.
Yeah, whether it's 5 or 8, right.
But he's a top 10 prospect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I say that's a win. Right.
Yep.
He's a young kid, 20 years old. 5-tool player, possibly, right?
Yep.
And hey, whether this whole Rodriguez deal, we've been over it, right? We'll see if they decide to. He's going to opt out. There's no question about that in my mind. But can they re-sign him to a deal? Will he? I mean,
well,
and that's the whole key. If you keep him, then I think, hey, you know what? That was a good move. But if you lose him, then everybody's going to wonder, what would have been, right?
Well, I'll still stand by, though. If he did not trade him for the value he expected,
sure,
that was a good move. Even though he got nothing for him, because you know what? If he sets that tone, nobody's coming to the Tigers looking to walk out with the baby and the bathwater, right? They know they're going to come to the when you came to the trading table with Dave Dombrowski, you never, if ever, came away with the best part of the deal. And that's what I want to see Scott Harris.
Trading-wise, I would agree.
I want to see Scott Harris
I would disagree.
Establish that kind of standard for his job and his position. All right, let's take a break.
Let's
come
do
back.
that.
We are going to have a guest.
Special guest.
If you want to call him special, I'll let you do that.
Hey, it's your guy. This is your guy.
I told you I didn't want to have him. You made me have him. Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
Each and every week, I look at the stat sheet put together by a gentleman, and I'll use that term loosely. And it's really interesting because he does come with this power ranking. You like the power ranking. You wanted to know more about it. You want to know where he came from.
I just wanted to give the guy some credit.
All right. Well, we're going to do that.
We're going to do that.
Al Fellauer, who was on the air with me for over 20 years on different stations.
God bless him for that.
Is going to join us shortly and talk about his power rankings and how he put those together.
Yeah.
And he is, all kidding aside, he is a baseball geek. He's a stat geek, and he is a very, very savvy computer guy, which I am not, obviously.
Wow,
so.
He's like a triple threat.
He's old, though, very old. Okay, before we take a break, Rob, run down our social media list of ways you can get involved with us.
Yeah, you can follow us on Facebook, Baseball This Week. You can also go to our YouTube page, Baseball This Week. You can follow us on Twitter as well, at Baseball This Week. That's Baseball This and WK. You can leave your comments, questions, or just want to make fun of Jim. That's always a plus as well.
Let us know. You've been hanging around with Jack too long.
Let us know what baseball news has got you all in a tizzy or excited about. Playoffs will be right around the corner. Those wild card matchups are heating up. We'd like to hear your thoughts on that as well, or anything Detroit Tigers for that fact. So follow us on Twitter at Baseball This Week. Whatever platform you got for podcasts, whether it's Spreaker, whether it's Apple, whether it's Spotify, any and all podcasts, we are there. Baseball This Week.
All right. We'll be right back with our guest and much more on Baseball This Week here from the Spotlight Media Studios.
To everyone who enjoys a sweet treat, Culver's team member Brooke is crafting one for you, Wisconsin style.
When I serve you a creamy fresh frozen custard treat, it's that handcrafted kind of goodness, like our Simply Sweet cones or dishes, craveably thick shakes, and handcrafted concrete mixers. You know those it's so good, want a bite kind of treats?
Come to Culver's for a Wisconsin favorite made just for you. From Wisconsin with love, welcome to Delicious.
So, it's been a while since you've had your jewelry cleaned and inspected, right? Where will you go and who will you trust with your most valuable and treasured heirlooms? At Meadowar Jewelers' 4 locations in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage, jewelry isn't just our job, it's our passion. Each and every piece entrusted in our care is thoroughly inspected by our trained staff against damage or normal wear. And we offer you, our customer, the highest level of quality on repairs and custom designs. Whether it's worn out prongs, channels, or shanks, it's all handled with incredible care. Meadowar Jewelers in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage want to help you preserve your memories and offer you options on creating new ones. Come in today for the cleaning and inspection of your jewelry. We continue to work hard every day to earn your confidence and trust.
Time for a career change? Looking to make a difference? Dean Transportation is looking for compassionate people to join our dedicated team of school bus professionals. Dean Transportation has immediate openings and offers paid training to obtain a commercial driver's license. With increased starting pay, benefit packages, flexible scheduling with weekday hours, and more, Dean Transportation may be the career choice for you. No experience needed. Apply now and train all summer. Head to deanjobs.com.
To everyone who craves a fresh meal made just for you, let our team member Jacob share what's special about Culver's.
In Wisconsin, our food comes from the heart, and taking the time to handcraft your meal with care is how we've always done it at Culver's. It's why your Butterburger doesn't touch the grill until after you order.
Come to Culver's and let us serve you a Butterburger made special just for you. From Wisconsin with love, welcome to Delicious.
Go get 'em, Tiger. Row.
Well, thank you very much, Rob Bennett. I'm Jim Stark. Welcome back to Baseball This Week. And, of course, whenever I hear that song, I always think of the 68 Tigers. That's when I first heard the song. That's and before we go any further, I want to say our condolences to the family and friends of Jim Price, the longtime Tigers broadcaster who passed away, I think, yesterday. And I was never a huge fan of him as a broadcaster, but I always liked him. He was enthusiastic. He was a great Tiger supporter, and he was around a long time. So I think those are things to be commended. He was part of the 68 team. So to Jim Price, we say rest in peace. And one more of the 68 Tigers gone.
Yeah, a very historic team before my time.
Which team? What's your team like that for you, Rob? What is your team? The first one you remember being a real winner. What's the one you would go back to?
Boy, well, I mean, 85. If we're just talking total sports, me being from New England originally.
No, the Red Sox.
Oh, the Red Sox.
Yep.
I mean, the first winning team.
The first one you remember. The first one that
it would be probably 86.
86. Okay.
Yeah, making it to the World Series, and then of course we all know what happened with the Mets there. But probably 86 would be my
that's
first.
Your 68 Tigers.
That
essentially.
Right. Without winning the World Series.
Yeah,
sure.
But you know where those guys are, and when they pass away, it's always a bit of a loss.
Sure.
Right? So.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, before we go any further, I've been dreading this moment for weeks. Ever since you first said, Rob, who puts these stats? No, you said who puts these stats?
Yeah, last week.
No, it was before that. When I first started using, you said something, and then you said who? And I said, and then I kind of blew you off. And then you said last week, this guy puts these stats. Who died? That I told you did it, and you said this guy knows what he's doing. You said I want to hear more about how he does it. Right.
I want to get the inner circle of it.
Against my better judgment. Against my instincts, I'm going to welcome now to the Spotlight studio. It'll be a studio
guest line.
Guest line.
Yes. You're so excited you can barely get him out.
Al Fellhauer, who I dragged along and carried for over 20 years as my radio partner.
Yeah, that's not quite true, but that's okay. I'll let you have the credit, Jim. That's fine.
Yeah, well, now listen, Rob, Al's kind of old, so talk up and talk loud to him, okay? Because he might forget where he is.
Nobody asked me, Jim, what my favorite team was of all time.
Oh, it's the Reds of 75. I know that.
75 Reds. That's right.
That.
You guessed it.
Did you think I just met you? I could have guessed that.
Well, I'm impressed that you remembered that.
Of course, you were in Ohio. He's an Ohio guy. Besides that,
you can't remember what day to take the garbage out.
Here's my favorite. Here's my favorite Al Fellhauer story, and I have a lot of them. This is my favorite one. And you know what's coming, don't you, Al?
No, I'm not sure. You got a lot of them.
We're sitting in the post-game press conference after a tough Michigan loss to Ohio State. Let me tell the story.
Room.
So we're and Al and Lloyd Carr's the coach, and Al has this ringtone on his phone that's the Ohio State fight song. Oh yeah,
Don't
Rob.
Tell me it went off during the
It went
press
off
conference.
during his post game. I'm telling you right now, they wanted to find the guy and shoot him. So fortunately, they didn't find Al. He got it turned up. Funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Whoa.
I learned the best from Jim Stark because what I did was I looked around to see whose phone it was.
Well, that is
true.
Sense.
You know, Al, if there's nothing else, I'm a survivor, right?
That's right.
I know how to survive.
Well, Al, let me ask you this. Me being a Boston Red Sox fan and being born in 1975 and the Big Red Machine and the Red Sox having that historic World Series, who is your favorite Big Red Machine player? I mean,
well, there's so many of them.
It would
be hard, but I'd have to say Pete Rose. I mean, every time he came up to bat in the clutch, you knew he was going to get a hit.
Okay, the next question then is the obvious one. Do you believe he should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame?
Absolutely. Absolutely, he should be. I think everybody that has numbers like that belong in the Hall of Fame, and that includes Barry Bonds. They still had, no matter what steroids or whatever he took, he still had to hit that little white pill, and he did a good job of it. And that's what Pete Rose did. And
Pete's problem is he lied about it. He just come clean 20 years ago to Commissioner Bud Sewell. He'd have been in by now, but he couldn't allow himself to just shed himself of it.
Does it matter that when he was managing, he bet on games and not as a player? Right? Is there that big of a difference?
Well, we don't know if he did as a player.
Had he come clean, Rob, had he come clean?
Oh, I agree with that.
And thrown himself on the mercy of the court, it'd all be over.
Well, if you'll remember, Jim, what Mrs. Autry told me, that Gene Autry had a meeting set up with Pete, and they were going to discuss how he could get back in, little things. He had to do.
Jackie Autry. That was
Jackie. That's right.
No. Who? Gene Autry, the owner of the Rangers, had a meeting set up with Pete Rose. Jackie?
Yeah, he set it up. Yeah, he set it up.
Okay.
Before he died, he had it set up.
Okay.
And Pete didn't show up.
Yep. There you go.
Well, right.
The American League president, and he didn't show up for the meeting.
Yeah.
And I think baseball really just kind of gave up on him at that point.
Well, I do think this, Al. I think with the way, when you and I first started covering baseball 20 some odd years ago, gambling in the clubhouse, anywhere in the stadium was totally forbidden. I mean, you saw big signs going in the locker room, gambling, and now there's gambling promotions in the state. So I think
doesn't even matter what sport it was. You did not gamble.
Gambling was, and now it's a part of the sport. I think that as much as anything is what should cut Pete Rose some slack. Say, you know what? Enough. He's been punished. Enough time has passed. Time has passed. Our view on gambling is different. We're ready to forgive and move on.
That's right. I can remember when Alex Karras and Paul Hornung got suspended for a full season because they bet each other on their own game.
Yep. So things have changed, and I think it's time to move. You know what? It's time to just cut the pain and move on. Now, Al Fellhauer, I will say this. I don't give you many compliments, but I will say this. You have always been very, very tech savvy, far more than me. I first met him, Rob, and computers were fairly new when in the mid-'90s. They were still kind of new. Every new gadget that came out, he would get. Every time I saw him, he had some new gadget, right? So he's been keeping stats on his computer, on his laptop, on his whatever it is now, his phone. So I'm not surprised to see him come up with the stat sheet that he has. And I shared it with Rob. But what I like about it, though, is, to me, the N factor this power rating came up with is so close to where you see the standings lie that gives a lot of value.
I just take the, Jim, I take the most important offensive numbers for the batting power ratings, and I take the 8 most important pitching ones that I think are the most important to get the pitching power rating. And then I don't know whether pitching is more important than hitting or not. So I balance them to get the overall rating of the team, and that's 50-50 then between batting and pitching.
All right, well, let's look at the American League this week in your overall power rating, okay? You've got Tampa first, Texas second, Seattle. Now that's a team we would not have expected to be quite that high, but they're third.
No.
Minnesota, Toronto, another one that is higher than maybe their standings are. So how do you count for teams that are higher in the power ratings than they are in the standings?
Because they must have, and I'm looking at it right now, but I haven't looked at that depth of it. I think that the thing that happens when you get a team like Seattle up that high is that they're really strong in one of the performances. And Seattle, if you look above that on the list, Seattle
right.
is ninth in batting, but they're second in pitching.
Second, yep. No, you're right. You're right. And the better teams are obviously higher in both. Minnesota now 8th in hitting. That's middle of the road, but first in pitching. That jumps them up. And then I think Baltimore is surprising that they're so low in the power ratings, 7th. A few weeks ago they were not that low. They stumbled a couple of weeks there. They started low too, right? When the season started, they were pretty low.
Yes, but they're sixth in batting and ninth in pitching, and they're right in that's the middle of the pack for the most part.
Now I will say this: the Tigers at 12th, 3 teams lower than them in the overall power ratings. The White Sox, the Royals, and the Athletics. They're the teams you'd pick, right? If you told me to pick 3 teams that are worse than the Tigers, those are 3 teams I'd pick.
Yep, you picked them every time, and the Guardians aren't much ahead of them either.
Percentage point, but no, they're. But actually, the Guardians are ahead of the Angels. The Angels decided to go all in. They did not trade Ohtani. They made trades and brought more people in. So they're going all in to try to win a playoff spot. Yet they're actually below the Guardians in your power ratings.
Yes, they are.
So did they make a mistake?
No, they just had I'm looking here. Let me look here. They were 6-1 in the last week, so they've come back some.
Okay, and record isn't necessarily indicative of the power rating either, because you could have a good record but have a poor pitching week or a poor hitting week.
Or you could have a poor hitting team and have a great pitching team, as you can see by the power ratings in the American League. Seattle is
here are the factors you use for the offense is team batting average, base hits, runs batted in, home runs, on base percentage, bases on balls, and strikeouts, and then least times grounded double plays. Where'd you come with that one?
Well, I thought that's important because when you hit into a double play, you really take yourself out of things. So your power rating shouldn't be that good if you're taking yourself out a lot of times.
So you're penalizing a team that hits into too many double plays.
Sure, absolutely.
Well, the Tigers actually are pretty high in least time. They're 6th. So they haven't hurt themselves as much there.
You got to remember, though, you got to have men on base to hit into double plays.
So we're talking with Al Fellhauer, who is my longtime radio partner, and now he puts together his Fellhauer power stats for me every week, and they're really interesting. Rob, what do you think about them?
Yeah, I'm looking at it here, and it's a 2-part question for me. First, Al, how long have you been doing this for?
Let me look here. I think it was 1987.
Oh, wow, long time. So let me ask you this, 2-part question. The most overrated statistic in baseball and the most underrated statistic in baseball.
Okay, I think the most overrated, you want pitching and hitting or just which one?
Just which one?
Batting average.
Yeah.
You think it's overrated?
batting average is overrated.
I would agree with
even though it's been the number one thing for how long, and it's still number one on my list of the 8 things. But the batting average is really, in my opinion, overrated because it's on base percentage and then the slugging percentages are much more important nowadays.
Yeah. Well, the OPS is, Al, when you go to Comerica Park, they don't list the averages anymore when a player comes up. They list their OPS, which is, of course, the slugging plus on base percentage.
Yeah, right. And I don't put that as one of the top 8. I put the on base percentages. Just because I wanted to keep it at 8, because that's all the room I had on my screen.
Sorry, did you get both your questions in, Rob?
And what's the most underrated stat, you think?
The most underrated state, the whip.
Yeah, the whip? Yeah. Okay.
Yep. I think it's the most underrated.
Why do you say that, Al?
Because that's really a good measurement. That's much better than earned run average. I mean, if a guy's got a real low whip, my goodness, that's very hard to do.
Well,
an ERA...
An ERA can be increased by poor defense, or it could be hidden by poor defense. But a whip, you really can't hide that. Is that what you're saying?
No, the whip is the pitcher's. The whip is truly all on the pitcher. He either walks him or gives up a hit, and that goes against your whip.
Now, you don't have any of these new metrics in here. Well, what are some of the new metrics, Rob, you see all the time? WAR. WAR is a big
Yeah,
okay.
WAR is a big
Right.
one.
I don't see WAR.
Yeah,
now, why would you
that's
not include
becoming
WAR
one.
on here?
Well, I think that's a big one. I don't know. They got so many stats now.
I was going to say, baseball since the beginning of time, it's the most statistical run, sport in all of America, right?
You have so many games. Too.
There's so many games.
So much data.
But do you believe that there's too many statistics in the sport?
No, because I think that people that listen to every one of them, I don't know how you could care about all of them.
Right.
I just don't understand that. I think the players, if I were a baseball player, I would be looking at my performance. What do I do when I go to the plate? Do I hit the ball or don't I hit the ball? Do I strike out a lot or do I hit? Do I get on base a lot? That's important to me. I don't care about all those other statistics,
right.
Whether a left-handed pitcher was pitching to me or a right-handed pitcher or whatever was pitching and hitting the same way. I don't care if it's against a lefty or a righty. And if you'll notice when they give those numbers now, I've noticed this. I don't know if anybody else has. There's less and less of the influence between left-handers pitching to left-handed batters and right-handers pitching to right-handed batters. They've kind of, for the most part, a lot of the newer managers and that have gotten away from that.
Well, Al, Rob, Al's like 97 years old, so he's like really old. So Al, you go back to baseball before stats were a huge thing, right? You go back before sabermetrics were even part of the lexicon, right? So,
right.
Do you think?
I used to do them with paper and pencil because I didn't.
I was going to say you did it with chalk on the wall of the cave, but beyond that,
hieroglyphics.
Yeah,
is that what you're talking about?
But Al, here's my question: do you think that they've become too reliant?
Yeah,
on
too analytical.
Stats?
Yeah, too analytical.
In the movie, Moneyball. Okay.
Yeah.
In the movie,
Yeah.
you saw
Great
the big
movie.
debate between the Billy Bean character and the scouts. You're getting too far away from what us scouts see things that no one. Where's that fall? Do you think they've come too far away from the scouts and what they see and rely too much on stats now?
I think the teams that have scouts that got a good balance between their eye for baseball and the stats. The guy who has balance out there is going to be a good scout, and they're going to get good players. Tampa Bay, for instance, they're always right there. Houston's there.
So their scouts, in your opinion, use both the traditional, eyeball test, the speed gun, all that kind. Plus, they use the stat angle to analyze as well.
It's like I tell my grandson when he's pitching after the game. When he's done pitching, I say what was right and what was wrong. Well, if the pitcher is tending to, quote, throw the ball, or if he's stretching out properly and actually pitching the baseball, that's a big difference. And a lot of the guys sometimes revert back to just throwing the baseball.
Well, and here's his grandson, Rob. His grandson is 42 years old. That's how old this guy is.
You're only as old as you feel.
Oh,
listen to me.
You know what? If
I get
that's
a message
true,
I get a message from Jim Stexas. I'm trying on a tux.
well, my daughter's getting married. What's wrong with that?
God,
what do you want me to
taking
wear?
A pile of and wrap it in wrapping paper.
What do you want me to wear? My pajamas? But here's the thing about Al and I. Al was, if you're only as old as you feel, Al was 107 when I first met him.
Yeah, right.
Wow. So Al, what do you think? Well, first off, your overall power rating. I have in front of me now your overall MLB power ratings. Atlanta Braves first, Tampa Bay second, Texas third, LA fourth. Again, Seattle fifth, remarkably so. Any surprise in those top five?
Well,
anybody not there should be.
I'm surprised that the Nationals have really moved up since I started really looking at these.
Yeah, but they're still 26th.
Yeah, they get up there. But the St. Louis Cardinals, I don't know. It seems like they improve a little tiny bit every week, but they're still in last place.
Yep.
They can't seem to get out of their own way.
Well, where are they on the I'm looking for them on the power ratings.
St. Louis?
Yeah. Oh, here they are, 19th.
19th.
Yeah. And then I think you see San Diego is number 7, and they've had a disappointing season this year.
Well, they've had streaks. They've been hot, cold, hot, cold. Right now they're really in the middle. They're kind of at a middle temperature now.
Yeah, but
they've had a good week.
When you have two $300 million players, Al, you can't afford to have hot and cold times.
Yeah,
right?
The expectations were too high.
Right. Well, no, they weren't high. They're supposed to be high.
Yes.
When you take a $300 million contract, you are setting the bar high.
Not just one, a couple of them.
Yep.
Yeah. Rob, one of the things that I've been trying to tell Jim though is the fact that you got to look at who they played
and when they played them. Correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you're playing a bunch of the lower teams on the power ratings, you're going to improve yourself.
Yeah.
And I like the New Balance schedule. I really do, because when it all comes out at the end, it's even.
Yep, that's right. And that's the final analysis is what happens at the end of the season. But I like this. I think it's a great benchmark to look at and say how are teams doing right now. How's your team? Like the Tigers right now are 25th in the overall power rating, and that's probably higher than they have been. Not as high as
they dropped the notch this week. They were 24th, and now they're 25th.
Yep. Well, that's right. But again, I think though that the stats that you use, Al, I think are more realistic in telling the story versus just telling a stat story.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
If I had a bigger screen and better eyes, I could put more things on there. So I just take the 8 from the 8 items. Because there's some things on there that I would like to put on there, including the slugging percentage and the one where you add the two together.
All right. Okay, Al Fellhauer, I've completed my obligation to you. I know owe you nothing more. Rob, are you happy?
I'm ecstatic. Great having Al.
No,
we should have him on again.
Hey,
Rob,
wait a minute. Holy cow,
I feel sorry for Rob. I feel sorry for Rob.
No,
Having
Al.
to put up with you.
Here's why you don't feel sorry for. You know why? He's got his fingers on all the buttons.
I do. I have complete control.
He don't feel sorry for. He can get rid of me.
Remember when Jim was saying that you were his favorite IT guy? And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that.
That's right.
Yeah, well, if he was running the board, you'd be off the air.
I wouldn't even know exactly how to start it.
Yeah, we would never get on. We would never get on.
We would never start it on.
What do you mean?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
All right, Al. We will have you back on. I'll keep using your stats every week. Here's the question, Al, real quick. Where will the Tigers end up at the end of September in the overall American Power Ratings, American League Power Ratings?
In the American League Power Ratings?
Yep.
I think they'll move up a couple notches if they could get the hitting and pitching on the same day.
So they could end up as high as maybe 10?
Oh, boy.
Oh, that's stretching it.
Well, that's two spots. It's 10.
I know. I don't know.
Maybe one.
Who's gonna fall behind them?
That's a good point. Well, the Boston Red Sox are going to fall like a stone, I think. Sorry, Rob.
Keep wishing.
But they continue to do okay. They're 16th in the major league ratings.
But they picked the wrong division to be in, Al.
Well, yeah, the Tigers picked the right one, but they can't make any hay out of it.
Maybe the Red Sox and the Tigers could trade spots. Rob, would that be good?
Yeah, I'll take that. Get the Red Sox into the Central. No. Heck yeah, I'll take that.
Before we go, I want Al to hear this.
You said trade spots.
Yeah,
Detroit doesn't want any part of the East.
Just trade.
Detroit doesn't want any part of the East.
No, they do not.
Come on.
If Detroit went to the East, they'd lose 140 games.
All right, before we let him go, Rob, I want him to hear about all of our social media. I want him to be impressed by this. Go ahead and run it down, Rob.
You could see us on Facebook.
Rob, hey, Al, they could see us. They watch us on TV.
See us on Facebook.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, how about that?
You don't have the camera aimed towards Jim, do you?
He thinks we do.
There'd be some terrible reflections.
I was going to say, there's a little bit of glare. We got the lights turned down. We got the lights turned down. So on Facebook, you can see us. On YouTube as well. On Twitter, you can follow us at Baseball This Week. That's Baseball This WK. And, of course, on all your platforms for your podcasts, Spreaker, right? And Spotify and iTunes, all of them.
That's great.
You can follow us that way as well.
All right, Al, before I let you go, you know who's starting in center field for the Minnesota Twins, the first place Minnesota Twins today?
I'm sorry, what?
You know who's starting
where?
in center field for the first place Minnesota Twins?
Today?
Tonight, right?
They haven't started yet.
No, they're starting right now as I'm watching. But anyways, you know who's in center field? Willie Castro.
Who's in center?
Willie Castro.
A Tiger from the past. Name from the past.
Who was in over the weekend with 26 home runs and 65 RBIs? Isaac Paredes. Oh.
Yep.
All right, Al.
That's right.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Right. All right. Thanks for calling, guys.
All right, guys. All right. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We've got all our features to get in, Rob. And we're going to get out of here by 7 if we can here on This Week, Baseball This Week here from the Spotlight Media Studios.
To everyone who enjoys a sweet treat, Culver's team member Brooke is crafting one for you, Wisconsin style.
When I serve you a creamy fresh frozen custard treat, it's that handcrafted kind of goodness, like our Simply Sweet cones or dishes, craveably thick shakes, and handcrafted concrete mixers. You know those, it's so good. Want a bite kind of treats?
Come to Culver's for a Wisconsin favorite made just for you. From Wisconsin with love, welcome to Delicious.
So, it's been a while since you've had your jewelry cleaned and inspected, right? Where will you go and who will you trust with your most valuable and treasured heirlooms? At Meadowar Jewelers' 4 locations in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage, jewelry isn't just our job, it's our passion. Each and every piece entrusted in our care is thoroughly inspected by our trained staff against damage or normal wear. And we offer you, our customer, the highest level of quality on repairs and custom designs. Whether it's worn out prongs, channels, or shanks, it's all handled with incredible care. Meadowar Jewelers in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage want to help you preserve your memories and offer you options on creating new ones. Come in today for the cleaning and inspection of your jewelry. We continue to work hard every day to earn your confidence and trust.
Time for a career change? Looking to make a difference? Dean Transportation is looking for compassionate people to join our dedicated team of school bus professionals. Dean Transportation has immediate openings and offers paid training to obtain a commercial driver's license. With increased starting pay, benefit packages, flexible scheduling with weekday hours, and more, Dean Transportation may be the career choice for you. No experience needed. Apply now and train all summer. Head to deanjobs.com.
Welcome back to Baseball This Week, heard each and every Wednesday here from the Spotlight Media Studio. I'm Jim Stark, along with Rob Bennett, the Boston native. Is it Boston native?
No, well, New England.
New England native.
I say Boston to everybody.
Yeah,
just
but
because it's
New England native, Rob.
But
Bennett.
I actually grew up in Plymouth. You know, the Plymouth Rock, the Pilgrims, all that deal.
I know of it.
Yeah, you've heard of it, I'm sure.
I've heard of it.
Boston's just a little easier. But I was 45 minutes south of Boston. So.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
how about the Tigers right now? Quick update for you. Bottom of the first, 0-0, but the Tigers are threatening with 2 on and 1 out.
And at the bat, the RBI leader,
Spencer Torkelson.
15 home runs, 59 RBIs. Yep. But still, his OPS is under 700 still because he strikes out too much. Yep. But he's better.
He's much better than the beginning of the season when everybody wanted to get rid of him. That's for sure.
Well, to me, the fact that at the core of what's happening, anything positive is Torkelson and Green is a real plus.
Yeah, for sure.
And what did I just say? Guess who just struck out?
Way to go. Nice way to jinx them. Jim.
I jinxed them big time, didn't I?
Yep. Yes, you did.
Sorry about that.
Right.
All right, Rob. Let's get through our 3 up, 3 down this week.
Yeah. What do you got?
Starting with the 3 down. Matt Manning. His last 2 games. All right. He's pitched 11.2 innings, 17 hits, 10 earned runs. Not finding it right now. And remember, Matt Manning's a young guy. He played basketball most of his youth. He's still a young pitcher. Even as his age, he hasn't pitched that much. I give him a lot of time, but these kind of streaks are typical of what we're saying this year.
It's typical, correct.
Yeah.
Typical of what individuals and typical of the team in general. So.
Yep. Second on my 3 down, Alex Lang. And I've been a huge Alex Lang supporter all year long. But get this, his last 3 outings, okay, which were 1 inning, 2/3 of an inning, and 2/3 of an inning, right?
Yep.
Each one, he gave up 3 walks.
Yeah.
3 walks
can't do
over
that
the 9 walks over the last 3 outings. Yeah, you just can't. A relief pitcher closer, that's got to stop. He may pitch himself out of that closing role. The Tigers are going to go ahead and score right now. I see Riley Green coming in to score on a base hit by Kerry Carpenter. Had 2 runs.
My guy, Kerry Carpenter. I've been saying it all year.
The Minnesota Twins are kicking it around a little bit.
Yeah.
They threw the ball past, and they scored 2 runs just like that, 2-0. The Tigers lead here in the early going down at Comerica Park.
Hey, if you take 2 out of 3 of the divisional leader.
I'm looking for it. Okay. Alex Lang is my second, number 2 of my 3 down. My third 3 down, I'm going to do a pair. I'm going to call it the catchers duo.
Really?
Eric Haase and Jake Rogers.
Jake Rogers.
Their average together, okay, is 206. Their OPS together averages .619. That is not enough production from the catcher position. It's just
Although Jake Rogers, I think, has shown some pop in the bat throughout the year.
Better, but his average is too.
What are you looking for as far as offensive catcher? If you're looking for a offensive catcher, and I'm not talking Mike Piazza or Lance Parrish.
If he's a good defensive catcher,
yeah,
I could live with 250, 20 home runs, and 75 RBIs.
Okay,
I could live with that. If he's a good if he's not a good defensive catcher, those numbers better go up.
Right.
But if he's
I would rather have a good defensive catcher than an offensive catcher.
And I agree. But I think
I want defense.
If Jake Rogers, who's a pretty good defensive catcher, could give me that even 250 with 20 home runs and 75 RBIs, I could live with that. Okay?
All
right, 3 up. First off, foremost, Eduardo Rodriguez. Wow. His last 2 games, 13 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 11 hits, 10 strikeouts, 4 base on balls, and 2-0 in those 2 games.
And you know what, man? Let's give props to Mr. Rodriguez because of the whole scenario and all these different things and all these things that are said about the trade that happened, that didn't happen. What did he do after that trade, Jim? You just said it right there.
He went out and pitched.
He went out and he pitched, and he pitched at a high level where it couldn't have went that way. He could have, because of all what was going on with the trade and all the scenarios that people were saying, he just shut the noise out, right? Shut it down and just went out there and pitched and proved why he is going to be a marquee free agent someone that's going to be available in the offseason.
And how about Scott Harris, who said on the night of the non-trade, he said, you know what? We got him going out every 5th day pitching for us. That ain't bad.
No.
Right? And he went out and won 2 more games.
You could look at any team in the majors, and he could fill
there's
at
no
least number 2 or 3.
That couldn't use him right now. Exactly.
Yes.
Some would probably maybe even be a top guy.
Oh, sure. Right. He's top guy in Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 2, Jason Foley. Mr. Consistency all year long. He's been that 8th. He's my next guy in line after Alex Lang to start closing games because he has been so consistent. He doesn't walk a lot of guys. He throws strike. I think Jason Foley may be right now the most valuable pitcher the Tigers have, other than Rodriguez.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. You saved yourself.
Yep.
Okay.
Third,
I bet Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
It better be who I think it is.
Well,
but go ahead.
3 up, Kerry Carpenter. Oh, you didn't like that one?
I did not like that one.
Oh, well,
and I'm a Kerry Carpenter guy.
Well, no, let me give you my numbers.
Give me the numbers.
The last 7 days, 6 games, he's gone 10 for 20 with 7 runs scored.
Yeah.
That's a good week.
That is a good week.
And for the season now, it's 275, 12 home runs, 37 RBIs, 8 on the OPS. He is developing into that first developed outfielder, everyday outfielder the Tigers have been looking for years.
Yes, agreed.
However, yeah, Riley Green, but certainly Kerry Carpenter has got more pop.
However,
yep.
And you know I'm a Kerry Carpenter guy. I just said it about 5 minutes ago.
Who'd I miss?
How about you giving an honorable mention to Miguel Cabrera? And no, I know
I gave it to him last week. Remember?
This week, what did he do this week?
He passed.
What did he do?
He passed. Unbelievable. You're right. I should say
honorable mention.
He
at least.
passed.
Come on.
Your favorite all-time hitter, my favorite, the pit total for Tony Gwynn. Maybe one of the 3 greatest hitters of all time, certainly from a base hit standpoint.
Yes.
He passed him on the hitting list.
Yes.
I agree with you.
Yes.
All
right.
Bad news. They just gave a run back. Alex Faedo just gave up a home run to the
2-1.
The Twins is now 2-1. Oh, Carlos Correa. Now, who is he? Have I heard his name before?
We mentioned him
Carlos
earlier in the
Correa?
show. Yeah,
I've heard him before.
Yeah,
he's a good player.
We've heard
All
of
right.
him. Yeah.
All right, Rob. Before we go, let's look at the week coming up.
Yeah, let me look at it real quick here. I got all fired up.
You should be all happy.
What do you mean?
So look at what's coming up. Come on. I would have thought you'd be thrilled with this.
Well, I had to readjust what you were saying.
I know, but aren't you happy though?
Am I happy with what's coming up?
Yeah.
I'm always happy the next day. That's what I look forward to.
No, but look who's they're playing this week.
Of course. They're in Fenway. They're heading to the motherland.
The motherland, that's
right. They will face the Boston Red Sox for a 3-game series.
Yep.
But then right back in the division against these very Twins in Minnesota.
All right, so we got if we count tonight, between now and Wednesday, we've got 7 games, okay?
Yep.
4 against Minnesota, 3 against Boston, okay? 7 games. What do you think the record could be, should be? What will it be?
3-4.
3-4. Okay. I'm going to go 4-3 because I think they're going to get lucky in Fenway. I think they'll take 2 out of 3 in Fenway this weekend.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
So I got 4-3, you got 3-4. We'll compare notes next week.
Sounds good, man.
All right. Rob Otto, jeez.
Holy mackerel.
I'll tell you why I said it, because Rob Otto was a guy that Al and I talked to all the time back in the day, right? And somehow, because I talked to Al, Rob Otto came to my head. But he's a good guy.
Well, you know what? You can call me anything, just don't call me late for dinner. How's that?
Boston Rob, thank you very much for all you did today. Great job. We'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
Al Fellhauer, thanks to him for joining us today with Mr. Statman for us. The Tigers, again, 2-1 down at Comerica Park. We'll see if they can hold off to this good week we just talked about. We'll be back next week for more baseball discussion on Baseball This Week, heard live from the Spotlight Media Studios.